Hello everyone, and welcome to a scrapbook layout video that is a little bit exciting, not only because I'm doing larger photos, but the whole creative design team are doing a YouTube collab this month featuring how to scrapbook with larger photos. And these are from Glacier Bay, and I have printed this one the largest I can print. I print at home, as most of you know. So I've got this Epson paper, which is an A4 size. So this one I just printed as large as I possibly could. I think I'm going to put this on the right page, but I'm going to do something special with this one here and use my Cricut with it because I want to cut my title out of the photo. So I have been experimenting with this and filming while I've been experimenting as well, and I'm going to head on over to Design Space to show you how I set this up. And I'm thinking my layout is mainly just going to be two large photos as a sort of opening to the rest of my photos that I have from this day in Glacier Bay, which was absolutely awesome. We had lovely weather. It was a little bit chilly out on deck in the morning, but when we went to our balcony, we were sitting there in t-shirts at one stage because it was so still and so serene. And I really wanted to print photos larger just to try and capture the magic of this. Nothing is going to beat seeing this in person, but I'm thinking I want to do these two large photos as like an opening for the rest of the photos that are going to follow. Now I've got some paper here. This is Night of Navy, Stampin' Up! Night of Navy, and I want to double mat these photos. So a small amount of white. I'm going to have my title. As I said, I'm going to go over to my Cricut and show you how I did it, but I do want to show you how you can do this if you don't have an electronic cutting machine. So I'm thinking a double mat would look really good with these photos, just a small amount of white and a small amount of Night of Navy. And with the paper sale that is on at the moment, some of the pattern papers were online only pattern papers that were available at 15% off. So I had a look at this Winter Meadow pack. I'm just going to flick through this because I know that I've got some gorgeous photos to put with this from my trip, and I think these are suitable not just for North America photos but for photos here in Australia as well, because the reverse side has a lot of texture to this, and that's what drew me to this pattern paper. Not necessarily the pattern at all, but the reverse sides are absolutely beautiful. I love the watercolor wash feel of this. This paper here with the trees on it would make a great Christmas layout, but I do love this wash and the marble effect that is on all the reverse sides of these pattern pieces here. But I think I'm going to use this one here for Glacier Bay for these two photos and use it somewhat in the background so that I have a bit of this sort of flurry type snowflake pattern coming through. But I can see beach photos with this because you think about the waves and the water splashing and the sand and all the different tones of blues and everything. I think I'm going to be using these papers for more than just my North America trip. So I'm thinking a small border like this will work. And then I will have this paper coming out from the side, and then I'm going to do a similar treatment on this side. I need to get another sheet of white here, obviously. This is just me laying it out to see how the colours look. And I think these colours are going to work really well. The depth of the Night of Navy teams in really well with these mountains and rock formations here. And I think I'm going to love how this looks. Now I'm going to head over to Cricut Design Space to cut my title out of this photo. Here I am in Cricut Design Space, and I'm fairly sure you can do this in other machines like Silhouette or Brother. I have a Cricut machine, so I'm going to do the tutorial for this part in Design Space. I'm not sure if you realize it, but you can actually upload photos into your Design Space file and use them to either print then cut or use them as a guide. I have already uploaded my photo here that I'm going to use. It's very simple. You can just upload an image and then select your image from your computer. I'm just using this one here that I already have, so I'm just going to go back into upload and put this onto my canvas. So I can put add to canvas. And it comes in very large. You can see the width here is 20 odd inches. So I'm just going to change this down to 10 inches. And I'm leaving the padlock locked so that the aspect ratio remains the same. And I'm going to work on it in this size, and it has already come in as a print then cut image. Now I'm going to experiment printing and cutting this directly from Cricut. I'm not sure what the quality of the print is going to be directly from Cricut Design Space. So I do have a workaround that I think will work if the quality is not so good. So we'll just work on this one for here, and then I'll show you a workaround. If you get your photo photos printed elsewhere if you're not able to print at home. So just bear with me. We're going to do it this way first, and I'm going to compare the quality. I've got my photo on here. I am going to simply add some text, and I'm just going to call this Glacier Bay. Nothing fancy for the title here, and I'm going to put this into bold and see if I like this font. I don't want anything too scripty because I'm going to cut this out of my photo here, and then I'm going to use these pieces that are cut on my layout. I want to make this a little bit larger. Now I'm positioning this over my photo here so that I get light and shade with the letters. If it was just over this section here, there wouldn't be too much difference, but I do like how there's a graduation of color here. I might just center this so that I've just dragged my cursor around. I just want to center this horizontally so it's all nice and uniform. I'm pretty happy with the positioning of all of this. So now it's just a case of attaching these together, but I'm going to pop my letters up a little bit so they are raised. I'm not going to just fit them back into this area that they're going to cut out of. So what I want to do is duplicate this, and I'm going to pop them up, I think, on black. So I'm just going to select black, and I'm going to do several layers of this so that it pops up quite a bit. I'm just going to group this together and put this just out of the line of view for the purposes of this video, and I will cut those out later. So now what I need to do is attach these two items together. The photo is already a print then cut, and the Glacier Bay is a basic cut. So I just need to attach this. I'm going to save the progress that I've got on this so far so I don't lose anything. And I have brought this in at 10 inches. Now I'm just going to show you what happens if you make this a little bit larger. I know that I can go up to 11.3 inches with my photo paper, but when I make it at 11 inches, I get a little warning symbol here, and it's going to say that the image is too large. You can auto resize the image and it will do that for you, but it will make it at 9.932. I'm just going to stretch this back out again so I get my warning again. I can click on this. I can change the page size on here, but the problem with that is when I change the mat size, I can make it a 12 by 24 inch, which means it will cut all right on my Cricut, but my paper that I'm putting into my printer to print the photo is an A4 size. So I can't print this large on my photo printer. So I'm just going to go back to the standard size that I had here and press done. And I'm going to alter this back to 10 inches. That removes that warning symbol there, and I know that the aspect ratio of my photo is going to remain the same because I have kept this padlock locked up here, and I can go off to make. Now I'm going to do this on my Cricut Maker machine, so I'm just going to select that. I can't quite do this as large, so I am just going to auto resize my image. My aspect ratio is still my same. This is something you have to be very careful of when you're working with a photo in Design Space. If you're going to print it from Design Space, you need to make sure that this padlock remains locked, otherwise you're going to warp your image. Okay, so technology is failing me and I can't work out how to connect my Epson photo printer to my Mac. My Mac I use to do recordings and screen recordings and editing my videos. I don't normally use it for Cricut, so I will look at that a little bit later to see if I can get this working. So I'm just holding my phone here. I'm sorry for the shakiness, and I'm going to do this from my laptop. So I have got the same project here. It's saved everything in Design Space that I've been working on, and I am going to press make. And you can see that I've got the mat here all ready to go. It's going to print on an A4 sheet of paper. Print then cut is what is specified over here in the order of everything that's going to work on the mats. And I'm going to press continue, and then I can send this to the printer. And you can see I've got options here with the two printers that are in the household. I'm going to click my Epson XP8700 series, and I'm just going to click print. So I've printed my photo. This is the one that I printed through my Epson printer, and you can see I've got all the gorgeous detail, light and shade here with this rock face here. I'm hoping that's picking up on camera. And this is what's printed going through Design Space. So I'm not sure if you can pick this up on camera. So I'm just going to hold these up. Hopefully you can see the difference here in the quality, especially with this dark area here. There is more texture that you can see with the details on the rock face here. So printing direct from Design Space does reduce the quality of the photo. There's not as much definition and the colors are a little bit off for this. So I'm going to head back to my computer and show you a different way of doing this so you're not wasting your ink on getting all this print out and finding that it's not the quality that you want. You're still going to be able to cut the letters out. I'm going to show you a little bit of a hack with that, but I wanted to show you what happened when you printed directly from Design Space. I'm over in Design Space now. I don't want my title as a print and cut. So I'm just going to make that a basic cut for now, and you'll be able to see it a little bit better now that it is a grey here because I'm going to hide my photo. I need this to cut into my photo exactly where I want it to cut on the mat. So I'm just going to bring in a square shape and I'm going to make this a score line. Because I've positioned my photo on the mat, I need to position exactly where this Glacier Bay is going to cut out of. So I'm going to make my score line at 11.5 by 11.5, and then I'm going to position it. Now, if you're working on a smaller screen, sometimes some of the menus are hidden, so I need to click on more, and I'm going to position this at 0 and 0, and it didn't take. So let me just do that with the mouse here. And hit enter, and then I'm going to send this to the back because I can't pick up my text because it's not on the top anymore. I'm going to just reduce this down a bit so I can see the whole screen, and then I'll rotate this because I want it to cut out of the side of my photo. Actually, I'm going to bring my photo back in for now and line this back up again. I need it so that I can position it exactly where I want it to go on my mat. So let's just align this back up to the center. I'm going to group it. I'm going to rotate this by -90 degrees. And I'm going to show you how this cuts on the Cricut so you can visualize it. Now I've positioned my photo on the Cricut mat at 1 inch down. So I'm just going to make my Y at 1 inch, and then I've positioned it so that it is in direct line with the 9 inches here, and it just about is. So I just need to zoom this in a little bit so I can tell and line the edge of my photo up with this 9-inch mark here. I'm just going to check that I'm still at 1 inches, and I am. So I'll bring this back down again so you can see. I'm going to ungroup these two items and hide my photo, and it becomes a basic cut. So I'm just going to save this, and then I'm going to click make, and I forgot to do something. So this is good because you can see I've got my score line here and I've got my basic cut on a totally different mat. So let me cancel that, select both of these items together, and I'm going to attach them. And then when I click on make, you can see on the mat here, I've got Glacier Bay cutting out just above this 9 inches here, and I quite like how that looks. So I'm going to press continue. So I'm in the make screen here. It's telling me I'm going to score and then do a basic cut. Now, because I've put my photo down in this section here, putting the score tool in is not going to be a problem. But with my maker, I don't have the correct score tool for it, so I can't trick it into not doing that. So let's go on to continue here. It's going to connect my Explore machine, and I've turned the dial on my Explore to custom. So I'm going to browse all materials. It's a bit hard when I've got my camera in front of my face. So I've got one result for photo paper. I'm going to select that and increase the pressure just a little bit, and then I can go over to my machine and load up the material. So let's do that now. So you can see I've got my photo placed on my mat here. I've brought it down 1 inch and the right edge is at 9 inches. And then all these little wheels here are going to go over my photo. So I need to move those aside. You can see this one is way more loved than my maker. I don't use my maker that much. I seem to just keep going back to my Explore. I'm going to move this out of the way. You can slide this along very carefully. I'm not using a whole lot of force, and I'm just pushing these guides out of the way so that when I put my mat in, it's not going to run over the top of my photo. So let me just check that that's going to be the case. I need to move these ones on the right here over a little bit more. I need to get my rub and remove out or some undo and get rid of all these gluey bits. That's a little bit embarrassing showing all that on camera. But as I said, it's all very well loved, this machine. It's the one I use the most. Okay, so on my screen, it's telling me to put the score tool in, but I actually don't have to do that with an air. So I'm just going to put that in, start the machine off. I get a little Cricut flashing here, press that one, and it will do the score line. Now, if I had the score tool in, it would be scoring around a piece of paper or whatever other product I have in here. So it's just doing the score line all the way around at 11.5 inches, and by attaching that to my title, it means it's going to position my title exactly where I want it to. Now that the score line's done, it's going to go off and start doing the cutting. So this is going exactly where I want those letters to go on my photo, and I'm going to be able to detach them from my photo, put my photo onto my layout, and then I'm going to pop those letters up on some cardstock as well, which I'm going to load up next. But I want you to see how the magic of doing a score line all the way around and attaching something means you can position your piece that you want cut precisely. Now, Julie Carrier showed me how to do this, and it's been an invaluable tip. But I think what I'm going to have to do is go and purchase a score tool if I want to do this on my Maker 3. I don't do this sort of thing very often, so I don't necessarily need a score tool on my Maker 3, but it might be something I can put down on my birthday wish list for the family to give me. So that's finished now. I can remove it from my machine, bring it over to my workspace, and I'm just going to put my camera back up on the mount, but I'll bring this in fairly close. You can see my letters are cut out all the way along here. I haven't lined it up. Oh, I've got dirty fingers. My apologies. I think that's from moving the little markers across. So yes, I do need to clean my machine. So I'll clean my fingers before I come back on. You can see it's gone to fairly close to the edge of my photo here. So I didn't quite position it as well as I thought I did. I think what I forgot to do was do the align, but I'm not going to reprint my photo again. I don't mind that it's off to the left here with a little bit more to the right. So I'm going to peel this off the mat and start creating my page. Now you can probably hear my Cricut machine working away in the background here, but I just want to quickly show you how to remove this from your mat. You have to be quite careful. So I've got the cover sheet here, and I'm just going to turn this over so that the sticky side of the mat is going to be on this plastic. So you will need to turn your mat upside down and bend the mat out and bring it back on itself. And I've got a problem with this. Honestly, trying to do this, I'm hoping that all my little tips along the way is helping you guys with, if you want to do this sort of technique. This is like a troubleshooting video. So I'm going to make this work in the end because I really want this effect. You can see it hasn't cut all the way through my photo paper here. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to push this out, but I don't think it's going to work. So let's see. It might just separate it nicely if I ease it. I think what I would do with this is set it on what I normally cut white cardstock with, which is a custom cut, and it does a double cut with it. I am going to get pieces that are not going to come out as smoothly as maybe what I like. I might be able to salvage this, but I think I'm going to have to print this photo again. What I have planned, you're not technically going to see all of this frayed section. So I'm going to keep going ahead with this, see if I can save it or if I need to set this up to cut again. So I've found a little solution to my problem here without having to go through printing this again. I'm just using my piercing tool that has an embossing, nib on the end, and I'm able to go around and just gently bring this away from the photo without getting any fuzzy edges. So that's great that I don't have to go through printing that photo again and using more ink on my computer. It is interesting because I have cut a photo before on my Maker and it worked just beautifully on the photo setting with more pressure, and that hasn't worked on my Explore Air 2. So it's interesting that they're set just a little bit differently. So it is something that you're going to have to experiment with depending on what photo paper you're using and what machine you're using. Just like any type of machine, they're not all the same. So you can see I have put my inside pieces of the letters back into little dishes here. I kept the inside of the R separate so that I could put that back in where I need it for the right letter because it's very similar to the B. So I'm going to unload this mat, and this has got all of the rest of my letters on here. So I'm just peeling that off. It's always good to bend the mat rather than the actual paper. Now, I wanted to point out that I do mirror things when I'm using white core cardstock. There is an L floating around somewhere. Here it is underneath my thumb. So I'm just going to leave all these onto this very well-worn Cricut mat. It's still okay for cardstock. The one that I used with my photo, I used a fairly new mat so that I could make sure that it cut out okay. So now I get to start putting my page together, and I'm going to stack all of these letters up on top of each other and attach them to my photos. And I've got my photo here with all the pieces cut out, and you could just put it straight onto a mat like this and then reinsert these little pieces on the inside so that the white shows through. But as I said, I'm going to be using all the letters that I've cut out from the photo itself. I've got my base layers here. I'm going to use the entire sheets of these. I'm not going to put them on white or cut them down or anything. This is going to be a fairly simple and straightforward page, I think. My photos on their mats, I did cut out the middle of the Night of Navy, and I was thinking about the orientation of this and rotating it around. I don't want it to be exactly the same print going across. I wanted to see if I could get these to sort of match up across the middle a bit more. You can see how this goes from dark to light here. So I'm just rotating it around until I get a colorway that I think is going to work across the 2-page spread. And I think this works quite nicely. So I'm going to put my photos on top and see how I like how this looks. I don't want to put that in the middle. It's too matchy-matchy. So I think I'm going to put that off to the side here. And then you can see this gorgeous pattern paper coming through. I don't think I want to do too much more to this. I'm going to do some journaling in the following pages. So I think this is going to be just a statement piece within my album as an opening like title page, although it's not going to be on the front cover. This layout here, you could put this directly onto the title page or the first page of your album if you've got a theme album, and that would work really well. Now, what I want to do before I actually adhere these down is I'm just going to move that off to the side for the moment. I want to put the inside pieces of these letters in before I assemble all my layers. So basically, if you just put the letter in here like this and then lift it up a little bit, don't push it all the way down, you'll be able to get it in the position that you need it to go. And of course, it's moving around a little bit because I'm using liquid glue here. I'm just going to do a final little check. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to continue on with the rest of the letters across this title here. I've gone ahead and I've adhered most of the letters down. I just wanted to show you the process on one of the letters so you didn't have to watch me go through all of this. I have 5 pieces of cardstock here that I've cut out with all the letters. It's exactly the same size. I duplicated the one that was on canvas from my final printout. Note to self. So if you do manipulate your text, just remember not to use the one that you did originally, but to duplicate the end result so that it all matches up. Because I didn't do that the first time around, but I'm not going to throw these away because I might use these as stencils on future pages. So it just depends on what pattern paper, or I could actually stencil through this onto a pattern paper. So that's something I'm going to think about when I get up to doing those photos. So it might not look like much on camera. I did look through my camera as I was setting it up for this last little bit, and you can't quite see all the definition, but I'm going to hold it up for you in a moment. So 5 sheets of cardstock here to give it a bit of a chipboard feel, and then I can put my photo piece on top. Now, I was deciding whether or not I stagger it or if I place them directly in. I could have this offset a little bit and put my G so that I had a shadow coming out from behind, but I decided to keep it all neat and stack everything directly on top. Putting a shadow layer is another technique that you could do. I think I'll be using that again, but maybe not out of an actual photo cut. I do have a lot of scenic photos that I do want to make larger to put on my page for this trip. And then I can simply just put some glue into the middle of this piece here and slot my letter in. So here it is, my letters all stacked on top of each other. I'm not sure how much you can see the layers here. I'll just try, there we go. So you can see that there are 6 layers to these letters. There's 5 pieces of cardstock and also the photo on top. And if I angle it like this, I'm hoping that you can see what a fabulous effect it is. To cut the letters out of a scenery photo works so well, and to stack them up onto pieces of cardstock to give them that chipboard feel, it creates a subtle yet stunning effect to this. So I'll just bring in the right page. I'm not sure what else I'm going to do to this layout. I think I have to step away and think about it. The sense of calm looking at all of this gorgeous scenery in Glacier Bay was really memorable, and I don't want to necessarily put a whole lot of embellishments on here to clutter this up. I want to keep this as my introduction to more photos that I have of Glacier Bay. I'm thinking I might do a little bit of journaling on a clear shipping label and put it over here. I'm not sure how it's going to show on this darker element here, but for now, I'm going to call this quits. Sometimes you get to a stage when you've been working on a layout for quite some time. I do have some exciting news. The Creative Design Team membership group, which is on Facebook, is currently open for registration. It's only open for 1 week, so if you have been wanting to register, you need to do so by 18th of August. So in Australia, that would technically be the 19th of August. A lot of you have been wanting to join. I have a graphic up here explaining exactly what's involved. We have a creative class each week where we do an in-depth look at a specific technique. We cover scrapbooking and card projects and some off-the-page projects as well. If you join up now, you will have access to our full catalogue of videos. So there's lots of inspiration there for you to explore. We also do a tip video once a week that can be anything from a journaling tip to a creative tip to storage tips, how to use a product. And we also have a challenge where we ask our members to participate in each month as well, with a chance to win a free month of membership. We have been going for over 2.5 years now, and I just love being part of that community. And the 7 of us on the creative design team love presenting new techniques and ideas. So if you've been waiting, the wait is over. This is a special opening. We don't normally open this time of year. I will have a clickable link below where you can sign up for registration, as well as a link to all the products that I have used today. Oh, and I was going to show you, because I forgot to do this, that you can get this sort of effect if you have larger plates. Now, I have a Sizzix switch, and I could put this alphabet through with this size photo, no problem at all. Even this size photo would go through. And what I would recommend doing is lining up all the letters on your Versamat, adhering them with washi tape, and then putting them over the top of the photo to run through. Now, one thing you do want to do when you have your letters all lined up onto your photo, before you put this through the machine, just pretend there are alphabet dies on here. You'll probably need to put just a piece of copy paper over top or another piece of cardstock, because when you put your plate on, sometimes there are indentations from previous cuts. So that will help prevent those indentations appearing on your photo. So you don't want to damage your photo at all. So you do need to protect the surface of your photo. If you have a cuddle bug, you can definitely do this. It all depends on the size of the photo you're using. So the width of the cuddle bug plates are 5 3/4 inches and just over 7 inches long. So you could do a 5x7 photo in one of these. And if you have the Stampin' Up! Die cutting machine, it's a little bit wider, so it's at 6 inches. and it is 9 inches long. So a standard 6x8 photo would work quite well going through here. So this technique doesn't have to be used on extra large photos with a Cricut machine. You can use it with your alphabet dies. I could have done this in my Sizzix Switch, but I wanted a chunkier font and a larger one, and I don't have one of those in my collection. So I'm really hoping that Stampin' Up! Will bring out some nice big die cut letters, not just for this technique, but for all sorts of scrapbooking projects. I'm back with the finished layout. I think I'm happy with the additions I've made. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to add anything else to this. I decided all I needed to do was add a few little soft touches with some vellum. I decided I didn't want to use the shipping labels for this. I think the vellum gives a lovely touch to it. And then I did little strips here at the top and at the right of this photo over on this side, just to add a little bit of softness to this. The tearing, I think, worked quite well on the vellum here. And then I added just some of these opal rounds assortment. I actually used some of these envelopes that I've had for ages that I bought for die storage. I got them on Amazon quite some time ago. If I can find the link, I will put that in the description below. But these are absolutely gorgeous. And I was tossing up whether or not I would use the clear ones. These ones almost have a bluey purple look to them, but when put onto my page here, they take on the blue tones of the Night of Navy, and from my photos here, they're very blue photos. It was overcast for this section. The sun came out later on in the day, and you'll see my photos for that in subsequent videos. But these, I think, were perfect to put on the page. And you can see by the light, these clear ones here have a touch of pink treatment in them. So I think that's all the touches I'm going to do for this. And my subsequent pages, I'm thinking I'm going to use more of this pattern paper. I'm just going to flip this over so you can see the other side of this. This is great for Australian bush, not just for North America, because the tones in the leaves here work really well with bush tones, I think. So I'm going to have to get, I think, another packet of this, and it's just as well we have that 15% off sale. But I really fell in love with this side of the paper, and I'm so glad that I ordered that for my Glacier Bay photos. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and bearing with me while I went through all of the processes in Cricut to get this to actually work. Thank you for hanging in there till the end. I hope you've enjoyed what I've created here. Don't forget to check out the other design team videos that are going up this week. Erin and Andrea have already aired with fabulous larger photo placements on their gorgeous creations. So make sure you check those out, and the rest of the team for the remainder of this week. Happy crafting, everyone, and bye for now.